Welcome to another edition of PAP TV, and today we have with us Hon Mbow. Hon Mbow, you are welcome today.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Okay. Now, Hon Mbow, can you give us a highlight of your presentation to plenary the other day?
Yes, thank you very much. As the chair of the West African Caucus, we organized a mission to Cape Verde and Côte d'Ivoire towards the end of last year. And the purpose of the trip or the mission was to lobby for the two states to sign and ratify some protocols relating to the African Union, in particular the protocol relating to the Pan-African Parliament that would give full legislative rights to the members of the PAP. Because right now, as you know, the PAP, which is the Pan-African Parliament, is a body, it's a consultative body. That means we cannot make laws. The only thing we can do is make model laws. Now, for us to be able to make laws like other continental parliaments or regional parliaments, we are required to sign a protocol called the Malabu Protocol related to the Pan-African Parliament. And then still now we have countries that are yet to sign. This is the protocol that was done in 2014 by the AU heads of state. And at this moment, only 14 countries actually have signed, and we need about 29 countries for it to be effective. And then out of the 14, 7 actually came from West Africa. Now, what we were trying to do is to lobby other countries like Cape Verde, like Côte d'Ivoire, and eventually to Nigeria, Liberia, and Senegal. So that at least we can get 10 countries from West Africa. Now, even though we are leading the way in terms of, signing and ratification, but we still need to do more. And then we also urge our other colleagues from the other regions to do the same thing, so that by at least next year, we should have enough signatures and ratifications to be able to make it effective. Now, the other one also, which we've dealt with also, that is about governance and elections. Some of the issues we have in Africa, a lot has to do with elections. So, and then there's this protocol which deals with governance and also elections also, like what is actually required for a member state to have in their jurisdiction so that they can actually conduct elections better. And then also we still have some countries that are yet to sign and ratify. So one of them was Cape Verde also. We went there just to ensure that they also sign. Some other countries actually from the region actually have signed, but they're yet to ratify. So these are some of the AU protocols that we went on a mission to lobby so that the heads of state can work with the foreign minister to be able to sign and ratify some of these things. And the other one also deals with human rights and disability aspect, which is really very critical, because again, when you look at that particular portion of our population, for the most part, they've been neglected, and then there's a need for us to take care of them to ensure that they are part of us, because we cannot do without them. So those are the things that we went around, and we made a presentation for the plenary to give results. And again, the mission was really, really very good, particularly one with Cape Verde, where we met with the head of state himself, who actually said there was no mission for Cape Verde in Addis, but by February of this year, a mission will be open, and he has done that. So which means he has kept his word. And what that's going to do for us also is going to make sure that Cape Verde is closer to the AU, and some of these ratifications also they can quickly work on and then do at the level at the Addis instead of going back and forth. And I think also the same mission in Côte d'Ivoire also was excellent. We also met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We also met with the Speaker of the Parliament, the lower house and the upper house, and they've all rallied behind us to ensure that we ratify some of these protocols, which are really, really very crucial for the African Union, in particular the the Pan-African Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. So, how confident are you with regards to the remaining countries in West Africa who are yet to sign on to the Malabu Protocol? How confident are you that within the shortest possible time they may also come on board?
Yes, I think when you look at those countries that actually remained, you're talking about Cape Verde, and again the third vice president of the Pan-African Parliament came from Cape Verde, and she's really very supportive. And then again, Cape Verde before they have occupied the position of the chairperson of the Western Caucus, so you're going to see that we have a lot of regards for the country itself. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for them to be able to sign and ratify. And then same thing with our big brother, which is Nigeria also. They are yet to sign, but I'm sure we are trying to organize a mission to go to the head of state and the foreign minister so that they can also sign and ratify. Again, Senegal, I think that's our, that's Senegambia. So that one is not a thing. In fact, what I have done as chair of the caucus is I've shared those 5 protocols, which actually some countries actually have signed or not ratified, or they have not signed or not ratified. So now I've shared it with the members that are here, so that when they go back, then they start to do the lobbying with their governments, so that when I do the mission with the other members, maybe sometime in August or September, when time permits, then it's going to make it much easier. So I'm really very confident that those 5 countries we target in West Africa, I'm very, very certain that they'll be able to sign and ratify, because it's a very simple task, because again, we understand the importance of the Pan-African Parliament in the governance architecture of the AU. So there's a need for us to be able to sign and ratify, so that PAP can take its rightful place on the governance architecture of the AU. And I believe the countries we are going to, when I talk about democracy in Nigeria, there's no question about that. You talk about democracy in Senegal, no question about that. You talk about the same thing in Cape Verde, no question about that. So anything that's going to actually help us as a union to be more democratic in what we do in terms of governance, in terms of elections, in terms of human rights, I think will be okay in West Africa.
Okay. Now let's touch on funding. I know that's one of the major challenges that the regional caucuses are facing, and even today there was a paper that was presented to that motion that was presented to that effect. So what would be your response to, are you happy that a motion finally has been tabled before the House to see that this is addressed?
Yes. Because see, what happened is the regional caucuses, these are structures that are created by our own rules of procedure, which means they expect them to do certain things for the Pan-African Parliament. But for the most part, due to the lack of budget or due to the lack of proactiveness on some of the members, you're going to see that their work is not really very clear-cut, or it's not really very out there in the public. But for West Africa, we've taken it on our own and said that, well, since we've been given this mandate to do lobbying, as enshrined in the African Union Protocol relating to the Pan-African Parliament, we said, okay, then we need to do this thing, do this job, and then we were able to get funding, and that's why we were able to go out. Now, I think the motion is also very important in the sense that they will be able to ensure that we get funding for a particular budget item for the regional caucuses, so that they can actually continue to do their work. Because if you look at what we want in terms of ratification and ratification of the protocols, I think the regional caucuses are in a better position to be able to do those lobbying than individual contestants like that. So when we come together as a bloc, I think it makes it much easier for us to go to a particular country, tell them the importance of this thing. Some of them, they already know the importance because they are part of the AU, so it's going to make it much easier. So I think the motion, which was presented by Professor Kamal from Kenya, I think it was right. It was right, and it was also very apt in the sense that it actually awakens the bureau to ensure that at least they have to provide funding. Now, one of the other aspects of the motion also is to be very clear on the funding outside PAP. Because again, we need to be very careful because we are members of parliament. We need to be very careful about the kind of funding that we actually use, because again, in our own local language in Gambia, we say the one that actually bores you the eyes will tell you where to look. Essentially, one who pays the piper blows the tune. So that's exactly what we are really very careful. And I think Professor Kamal was really very specific for asking for the bureau to give us a guidance on how do we handle funding that is outside the coffers of PAP, that we need to be very careful of, because again, in this day and age, anything is possible. So we need to know exactly who is funding what and for what purposes, because we don't want a situation where you have an institution or an individual that will fund you, but behind the scenes, they want something very specific for that to be done. We think that's very undemocratic, and that's the reason I thought the motion was really very apt, and also came right on time so that we can be guided about funding outside our own budget.
Okay, so my last question, from where you sit as a regional caucus chairperson, in the next 5 years, do you see all countries or the PAP being able to gather the necessary ratifications to become a fully fledged parliament?
Yes.
And if so, what is needed? What can we do?
Yes, I think I'm very confident, actually, with the kind of members we have in the PAP now. And with the level of sensitization we are also doing at the level of the regional caucus or at the level of the bureau, I'm very confident that by in the next 3 years or so, I think we may be able to have enough ratifications to be able to give PAP its full mandate to be a legislative body for the African continent. We need PAP to take its rightful position in the governance architecture, like I said earlier, simply because we have a continental body called the African Union, which is very crucial for Agenda 2063. Now, to do that, we need to ensure that we have the right structures, we have the right organs in place to be able to do monitoring and evaluation to ensure that what we want done, we are able to do. Because again, when you look at the African Union itself, they need to have a parliament that will be able to check whether those organs that are actually mandated to do A, B, and C, and D, whether they are doing that. We need to be able to do that. Just like in our own country, we need to do checks and balances to ensure that we are able to find out whether what they've been mandated to do, as per the Assembly Heads of State, they are actually doing. Because again, when you look at it itself in the different organs, they are funded by the African Union. They are funded by our member states. They are funded by public monies. So when we do that, there needs to be a time when somebody needs to check whether those public funds have been used or have been utilized in the right places. And I think PAP should be in a better position to do that. So, and that's the reason why I strongly believe that the fact that now we have more members of parliament in here that are really well sensitized about the reason of PAP, the formation of PAP, the formation of the African Union, I think I'm very confident that in the next few years, PAP will have the right ratification we're going to have, and PAP will actually going to play a very crucial role in the governance architecture of the African Union, because it's important that we have at least a body or an organ of the AU that will be able to check the other organs to ensure that what they've been asked to do by the Assembly Heads of State, by extension, the African people, they're actually doing. And PAP will be in a better position to do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Mbow.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for today's show.
Okay.
And back to you, our viewers out there. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for our next interview.